Tonight on Joy News, Prime Court of Appeal gives multimedia group green light to broadcast documentary detailing pervasive theft of cocoa beans from poor farmers.
Everybody have adjusted their skills and they are weighing it 70 kilos instead of 64.
Well, details as the court rules that the Licensed Cocoa Buyers Association have failed to show that they have a right the court must protect. Electoral Commission establishes District Review Committee to ascertain persons qualified to register as it cautions political party agents against resorting to violence at registration centers.
The Commission has put in place processes, mechanisms through which citizens can voice their complaints and their concerns. Therefore, we do not encourage citizens taking the law into their hands.
Also in this bulletin, Finance Minister predicts Ghana's economy expected to perform better in this COVID-19 pandemic era than several other worldwide economies.
But if you compare our GDP performance in terms of the impact on COVID, I think we are doing pretty much better than from both the globe and then sub-Saharan Africa.
And in business,
Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank keeps policy rate unchanged at 14.5%, citing growth concerns.
Require some monetary restraint to preserve the anchors of monetary and macroeconomic stability. In the circumstances, the committee decided to maintain the policy rate at 14.5%.
And later tonight, the opposition NDC's running mate, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, expected to deliver her maiden policy statement as the party officially prepares to outdoor her. We'll bring you a comprehensive coverage of that event right after this bulletin. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. We're live from our studios in Kokomlemle in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air on your DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. Many thanks for choosing us. We begin from the Court of Appeal that has, in a unanimous decision, ruled that a multimedia group can broadcast a documentary detailing pervasive theft of cocoa beans by clerks. The three-member panel presided over by Justice Dennis A.J. held that the application by the Licensed Cocoa Buyers Association is unmeritorious. The documentary Missing Kilos is an investigation by Joy News and was due for broadcast in February 2018. But running to the court, the cocoa buyers described the documentary as containing unfair and unverified allegations of crime made against the companies. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has the rest of the story.
It's by far the biggest nationwide plunder of poor cocoa farmers.
They know it and it is happening.
The adjustment of weighing scales by produce clerks and licensed buying companies to steal cocoa beans in broad daylight.
Our scale is not that normal, so there is a mouse or enter into the scale and also can create that problem,
making the cocoa farmer poorer.
Everybody have adjusted their skills and they are weighing it 70 kilos instead of 64.
And the produce clerk richer.
We decided that when we use 5, sometimes our wages and this thing is small, so we added 1 kilo to be 6.
Joy News' Kwete Nate goes undercover to expose this cartel of swindlers. Missing Kilos.
The cocoa buyers had argued the documentary contains unfair and unverified allegations of crime against them. Their lawyers on Monday urged the appellate court to grant their request for an injunction. This is the third effort to stop the broadcast of the documentary. The High Court and Supreme Court have on previous occasions turned down a similar request. Lawyers for the media giant represented by Rosalind Kaleji urged the court to dismiss the case, insisting the cocoa buyers had failed to demonstrate that they have a right to be protected. She said the application forms part of moves to frustrate the airing of the documentary. The court dismissed the injunction, describing it as unmeritorious. It also awarded a cost of 2,000 cedis against the association.
2 people have been confirmed dead and 4 others critically injured after a gas explosion in a local gold refinery shop at Akwaboso in the Upper Danger West District of the Central Region. The deceased, identified as Akwesi and Yawasari, aged 34 and 29 respectively, were said to be closer to domestic gas cylinders used for the gold refinery when the explosion occurred. Police and fire service team came in following a distress call from the assemblyman of the Sobin Akwaboso Electoral area. 3 others who are not workers of the refinery company but sustained varied degrees of injuries have been admitted at the Bibiani Government Hospital. Anthony Ejay has been arrested by the Weija Dofsu police for causing harm to his 4-year-old son at New Weija. The victim was inflicted with wounds after his father cut him multiple times with a razor blade. Joy News is learning that a resident reported the issue to the Weija Dofsu after the victim narrated the incident to him. Meanwhile, the boy is currently receiving treatment at the hospital. And now the Ministry of Finance says Ghana's economy is expected to perform better in this COVID-19 pandemic era than several other worldwide economies. Speaking to journalists at a post-mid-year budget review statement workshop, director at the ministry, Dr. Al-Hassan Idrisu, said the economy will see a modest 0.9% growth in 2021, and that, he says, is better than many other economies which are recording negative growth rates.
You know, we have a very important indicator we use to measure the health of the economy, which is the GDP, or the gross domestic product. And so all of these, when we did that calibration, has impacted in us revising our 2020 GDP from the 6.8% that we originally programmed to the 0.9%. So that's where the 0.9% is coming from. But if you compare our GDP performance in terms of the impact on COVID, I think we are doing pretty much better than from both the globe and then sub-Saharan Africa. For example, in the global environment, we are looking at GDP growth actually contracting by 4.9% by end of 2020. Contraction means negative growth. So whilst Ghana, we are talking about a modest positive growth of 5.9%, the global environment or global growth will contract by 4.9% or would grow by a negative 4.9%. Sub-Saharan Africa growth will contract by 3.2% and ECOWAS by 2.9%. And these are estimates of the IMF. And these revised estimates came out June update or revision. Now, so how has government weathered the storm, or how is government looking at mitigating the impact of the COVID-19? So what government is doing basically is to put in place measures to protect lives and also to protect livelihoods. In terms of protection of lives, I've already talked about border closures, closure of schools, partial lockdown, restrictions on public gatherings, the 3 T's, which are the tracing, testing, and treatment, World Health Organization and Ministry of Health protocols or mitigation measures, the provision of financial clearance for staff of about 25,000 to help augment the health sector workers in terms of their work relief. Have also been provided for health workers in terms of tax waivers and allowances. We've seen provision of health infrastructure intervention involving the construction of some district and regional hospitals. There's also sanitation and fumigation that is ongoing. Some of the measures that relate to protection of livelihoods include the reliefs that have been provided for households. For example, the hot meals and food packages that were provided during the lockdowns, partial lockdown in Greater Accra and other areas. And then release for businesses. We saw the CAPBAS program of about 600 million that was provided for small enterprises.
Let's now turn our attention to this essential commodity, because transport operators in the country say they will not reduce fares after President Akufo-Addo lifted restrictions in the transport sector. They say COVID-19 social distancing protocols and other factors forced a 15% increment some days ago, but the prices will remain even after the president directed them to operate at full capacity. That's according to Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, Ibrahim Abbas Moro. Maxwell Agbagba was at the Circle Lorry station and reports that whereas the drivers are excited and have already started operating at full capacity, passengers are not happy about the directive.
We are here at the Circle Terminal to gauge the mood and find out what it is like, here. As you can see, The place is already buzzing with activity this morning. But before we get to the terminal, though, let's speak to some persons who are buying, some water here this morning. Let me speak to. Sir, you're welcome to Joy News.
Thank you. Yeah. For me, since we'll be wearing the nose masks, I don't think I have a problem. Okay. Because if you are able to follow the precautionary measures, I think it will help all of us to be safe.
Truck drivers can't go back to picking to full capacity.
Oh, we are very happy.
Okay. You are very happy?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you reduce your transport fares? Because many of you increased it because of that.
But the fuel is not reduced. So it should reduce the fuel so that it can also reduce the fare.
You can see what's happening in this vehicle right now. It is at full capacity. Previously, you would only find 2 people in this truck, but now it's back to normal with 3 people, on the seats. All of them wearing masks. I've just seen one person at the front seat not wearing the mask. So the trucks here at Circle have started operating at full capacity.
It's a welcome address.
Okay.
The president have done well because no matter what, we can't go backwards. We have to bounce back. The nation have to bounce back. Yeah, so it's a good initiative. Okay. We welcome it. When the fare was increased because of the reduction of the passengers, it also created the fare to rise.
They were supposed to reduce the lower fare because it will bring confusion. Government to do something to favor the drivers and me too.
Well, we are now in the central business district. There's a lot of activity going on here, but we are right in front of the offices of the GPRTU, the Greater Accra GPRTU. And we have with us the public relations officer. But what we are certain about is the 15% increment. You say that you're not going to reduce the fare.
Yes, no, that one there's no way. It is good we speak the truth, we tell you the truth to cry, than to tell you lies for you to laugh. There's no way we are going to decrease anything from it, because we are even looking for more than what we are implementing now.
You are not loading, you are not operating at full capacity. Now the president has lifted that restriction and you're operating at full capacity. What do you make of arguments that it means you should drop that 15% increment, the 15% increase in lorry fares? What do you make of arguments like that?
No, I said earlier on that by then, we're not in normal times when the economy, things have changed. We are even expecting to come up with upward adjustment in lorry fares, which is long overdue.
In the Ashanti region, emerging videos available to Love News show assistant headmaster of Ejisu Secondary Technical School who detained 2 students overnight in his office may have been abusing students before the latest incident. Kofi Appiah admits to locking the students up for allegedly stealing an electric stabilizer. One of the detainees attempted suicide as a result. Erastus Asaridonko has been speaking with eyewitnesses and examining fresh evidence of maltreatment in which students are seen crawling on their knees by the roadside. Here's his report.
In the video, some young men who identify themselves as students of the school are seen on their knees by the roadside. Ejisu Nkoswohene Nana Kofi Poku corroborates contents of the video.
The right time
He tells me he nearly drove into the students at night on one occasion.
But when I reached the school, I saw some 3 things going on the road. So I thought it was a sheep. I said, no, this thing is not a sheep. So I slowed down. I put highlights and I saw it was 3 boys. I asked them, why? He said, we are eating. We're doing some soakings in front of the dormitory. And then our assistant headmaster came to meet us. And he said we should crawl to follow him. From inside the school to the gate, to the main road, towards Onmi Road. So they're going almost about, let's say about 500 yards.
Nana Poku says he confronted Mr. Appiah, who admitted subjecting the students to such ordeal.
I saw them eating. And I'm saying, no, it's not right for you to eat at this time. You should be in the room. I told them, in fact, I told them they should crawl and follow me. But they should crawl and follow me. And follow? Yes, I said that.
He admits to me that, yes, he said they should do that. But he thought they go back to school.
The chief also wants education authorities to investigate reports of some students scooping feces with their bare hands on the orders of the assistant headmaster because they defecated in the bush.
This is not the first time. They have the problem in the school toilets when the boys went to the bush. So this man ordered them go back to the bush, follow them, use their hands to grab the private on their hands, walk into the school, throw into the school toilet. We don't want this man in our even society here. We don't want him.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Let's stay in the Ashanti region because teacher associations of second cycle schools in that region say funding constraints have forced them to abandon infrastructural projects amid organizational challenges. Joy News' checks reveal restriction on PTA dues and levies that came with government flagship free senior high school policy is responsible. Officials say transportation and other logistic support by the parents have also stalled. Ohementeria has more in the following report.
The fanfare that greeted introduction of free senior high school perhaps took away the powers of local PTAs in second cycle schools. The association had become vehicles for development in schools. Members spearhead infrastructure drive from classroom to residential accommodation to provision of vehicles for schools. Such initiatives were funded from dues, levies and other contributions by parents.
Before the free SHS policy, we used to collect fees and then part of the fees given to PTA to do other projects. But the government policy is that don't use the guests to collect the dues, deal with the parents. And that is where the challenge is. And when we meet, we give our accounts numbers, we give numbers they will not pay.
Now, PTAs appear to have been reduced to mere peer groups with little or no influence in the schools their children attend.
Currently, per the free SHS policy, we no longer collect dues because we're using the students as agents so that if they are not paying, we ask them to go home so that they go and collect the dues for us. Currently, per government policy, we cannot ask any child to go home to collect PTA dues. So it has become voluntary, and the parents are not paying.
One such school reeling under this situation is Yasantua Senior High School. PTA projects, including this two-story dormitory, started 2 years ago, is on hold. Space from this huge edifice could absorb hundreds of students to address congestion and perhaps the gold and green tracks issue. Andrews Chere is local PTA chairman.
If we are able to complete, according to the headmisters, the double track will cease for Yasantua. So we are appealing to people to help us. And we are also appealing to Kumasi businessmen or businesswomen to come to our aid so that the policy of social distance is assured.
Mr. Chere says at least 100,000 Ghana cedis is needed to complete the project and put the facility to use. He appeals for support from corporate bodies and benevolent organizations.
We need to have the burger proof. We have to tie it. Then we also need to construct bathrooms and toilet because the one they did is not enough for the case. And currently they don't even have a place to dry their things. And it's very serious. Government is providing one in addition, but it will not be enough if we want to stop the double track. Per the estimate, provisional figures, we are saying about 100,000.
Mr. Chair says until the PTAs are strengthened, second cycle schools will continue to face infrastructure deficit despite government effort.
The solution is that we want parents to know that we cannot leave everything for government to do for our guests. So they also need to contribute by paying their dues. For Yasantoa, we propose 50 Ghana cedis per semester. But even that one, the payment is a problem. If this phenomena that we are experiencing does not change, then PTA will become handicapped.
Meanwhile, the PTA has presented PPEs and other anti-COVID-19 materials to school authorities. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Ohimenteria reporting.
I'm back in the studio in Accra. My name is Aisha Ibrahim, and still to come in this bulletin, Electoral Commission establishes District Review Committee to ascertain persons qualified to register as it cautions political party agents against resorting to violence at registration centers.
The Commission has put in place processes, mechanisms through which citizens can voice their complaints and their concerns. Therefore, we do not encourage citizens taking the law into their hands.
And later tonight, the opposition NDC's running mate, Professor Nana Jeno-Poku-Agyeman, is expected to deliver her maiden policy statement as the party officially prepares to outdoor her. We'll bring you a comprehensive coverage of that event right after this bulletin. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, NDC flag bearer John Mahama will tonight officially outdoor his running mate for the 2020 elections, Professor Nana Jeno-Poku-Agyeman. In the studio with me is Evans Mensah, who is head of our political desk and host of our coverage later this evening. He joins me in the studio for more on what to expect. Evans, I mean, there's much enthusiasm building up to this event. We start at 6, right?
We start at 6, so this is what, some 30 minutes away. Already the team is setting up at the UPSA. We're going to have Araba Kumsin, we're going to have Parker Wilson from location in-house. Myself, Kodo Yankson, Winston, MFR Pau would, of course, do justice to it. We're going to give ourselves a whole clear hour to build into 7, which is when the event itself starts, because there's a lot to go through, sort of set the tone for the event itself, and to put some context to what you might possibly hear her say. We had anticipated a few things that she might say, based on everything that has happened since the name was made public.
Yeah.
A bit of research, digging into her background in her constituency, for people who know her, but also, of course, some of the criticisms, her work at the Education Ministry. We really went into that, fact-checking some of the claims she has made in the past interviews she's granted, what she had said are her key achievements, and fact-checking that really to see whether indeed she did achieve those things that she's talked about. But I guess we're calling this the Jane and John puzzle, solving the Jane and John puzzle, because it is actually a puzzle, how the two can combine to deliver victory for the NDC. And so that is fundamentally the puzzle we'll try and attempt to solve tonight ahead of the event itself starting at 7. And so you'll see a lot of analysis. Watch out, by the way, for the strategy notes. The strategy notes, after every round of analysis, will tell you what the strategy note is.
Okay.
I mean, in other words, based on analysis, what should the NDC be doing to going into 2020. A lot of it you can find as pretty controversial. A lot of it, it's based on fact and figures. Look out also for the story in the numbers, all starting at 6.
Okay. So, of course, the Jane and John puzzle we're going to be... But for you, as head of political desk, how do you see this puzzle panning out for the NDC?
I wish I could tell you, but I would just say wait till 6. Just wait till 6. I mean, because that is exactly what, but you just need to stay tuned. I mean, and that is a key question. That is really at the heart of what we're going to do today, trying to fix that problem and fix that particular puzzle. We are going to go as far back as 1992 to try and solve the puzzle. We are going to go into John Mahama, we're going to go into Rawlings, we're going to go into Mills, and what they have done over the years and how that history could be relevant to Jane and John.
Okay. We'll be looking out for that conversation. That's about some 28 minutes after this bulletin. It comes up, and Evans has already mentioned to you all the people who are going to be here discussing the issue. But let's now cross over to the University of Professional Studies and look at preparatory work so far. My colleague Parker Wilson is there. Parker, how are things shaping up on the ground?
Right, so the NDC, I can say, is set for tonight's event. And just behind me, Veronica Bucket. So any individual who seeks to get to the auditorium would have to, first of all, go through the process. And when he is done, he moves to the entrance of the auditorium, where you see a number of security personnel are here checking the temperature. And as you can see, this young man is checking the temperature of the multimedia technician who is going into the auditorium. So this is the process here. And some of the leading members of the party who are here, especially the deputy general secretary of the party.
Okay, so these are visuals, live footages from the UPSA where we've set up for the event. The event is coming up at 7, but our discussion, running up to the event at 7 is at 6 p.m. Evans has already been outlining some of the things to expect. Parker is back on the line. Parker, for viewers, what should they expect at 7 when the event commences? What have the organizers been telling you?
So the organizers say that they are hoping that by 7 p.m., all the invited dignitaries will be seated for them to commence the program. Of course, they'll take a few speeches from the chairman of the party and also some of the people they have invited. And from there, we'll listen to the policy statement of the running mate, Professor Jinana Opoko Ajiman. And so that is what you expect. They are hoping to finish this program within an hour. And I just saw Alex Sebefia just walk in. And so they're expecting that within an hour, they'll finish this program, and then we can all head back to our offices. So this is what we should expect from the NDC this evening.
Okay, so my colleague Parker Wilson with some live updates from the UPSA where the event starts at 7. So stay tuned to the Joy News TV, Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love FM in Kumasi, myjoyonline.com, and our many other platforms for a build-up to this event today. From 6 p.m. We'll be live on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air. We're also on your DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. You just don't want to miss this. And to the rest of our stories, the Electoral Commission has implored party agents to use established laid-down rules to review the eligibility of an applicant that resort to violence. Addressing the media in Accra, Chairperson Jane Mensah condemned violent acts being witnessed across registration centers, calling on the police to prosecute offenders.
I worry about the citizens taking the law into their hands and not following laid-down process. I think I mentioned it in my presentation that the Commission has put in place processes, mechanisms through which citizens can voice their complaints and their concerns, and we expect citizens to do so. And therefore, we do not encourage citizens taking the law into their hands. I think time and time again we have condemned violence on this platform, and we have urged our citizens to follow the laid down mechanisms because they do work. The challenge process where if you have to challenge an applicant because you believe that applicant is not eligible, those processes do work because you go, there's a challenge form that you fill, and you have the registration review committee that will sit on these forms and determine whether or not the person is eligible. That committee has on it the district police commander, the head of the education service at the district. It also has political party representatives on the committee. So those mechanisms work. Apart from that, when it comes to exhibition as well, one can still have the opportunity to challenge. So the mechanisms work, and as a commission, our number one goal is to encourage citizens to use those mechanisms that we have made available at the districts and not to take the law into their hands.
An up next in business, Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank keeps policy rate unchanged at 14.5%, citing good concerns.
We would require some monetary restraint to preserve the anchors of monetary and macroeconomic stability. In the circumstances, the committee decided to maintain the policy rate at 14.5%.
The details shortly with Sandra Apeno in business.
Welcome to Business. I am Sandra Apeno. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has kept its policy rate unchanged at 14.5%. Speaking at a virtual press conference, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, cited growth concerns as reason for the decision.
While government stimulus packages for various sectors of the economy, including micro, small, and medium-term enterprises, is in the right direction to boost economic activity, the committee's view was that going forward, the 2021 budget should be focused on instituting measures to return the fiscal consolidation path with a view to building resilience and strengthening the pillars of the economy for a return to stability. The Bank of Ghana's latest forecast shows that inflation is currently above its upper limit, driven mostly by food prices. Adjusting for the unusual noise in the food inflation, the indications are that underlying inflationary pressures are stable. The bank projects a return of inflation to the medium-term target band by the second quarter of 2021, conditional on corrective fiscal measures being introduced in the near term. The committee was of the view that the current extraordinary circumstances, with a widened budget deficit and residual financing gap, would require some monetary restraint to preserve the anchors of monetary and macroeconomic stability. In the circumstances, the committee decided to maintain the policy rate at 14.5%.
Away from that, workers of the La Palm Royal Beach Hotel are calling for the dismissal of the chief executive, Abena Poku-Abote. The workers are accusing her of gross management and failure to pay salaries despite deduction for social security contributions. Ebenezer Sabote was at the hotel and has come through with this report.
The one-time five-star La Palm Royal Beach Hotel in Ghana has been closed temporarily as a result of the negative impact of the COVID-19. Staff are yet to benefit from any of their over 8-month salary arrears and other service benefits, a situation they say is worsening the standard of living. Here are some of them.
This has getting mixed in the La Palm. Formerly, how we know that La Palm is standing on the feet like those days, it's no more. And then when the government appoint them, they come here, they open their pockets and they put all the money into their pocket. And second, they are starting depressing, they are making a lot of depressions on the staff.
They also believe the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, which is the majority shareholder, should take full responsibility of the facility and appoint new managers.
Our own salary, we are using it to pay our school fees. And when we go for negotiation, we say what's supposed to be given to us. We are rendered arrogant. Is it good for this hotel? I think SNIT have to come back and take a second look to this. Reporting people about their payment of SNIT, and he, as the own mother organization here, will sit down and look at it that nobody has been paid about its SNIT benefits, and SNIT is looking at it. Then I think there's something wrong about SNIT.
The facilities, however, holding some travelers undergoing the 14 days mandatory quarantine without testing, according to allegations from some members of the staff.
Let's see how trading opened for the week on the commodity market. Brent crude sold for $42.53 a barrel. Here are the market figures in commodity news. Grateful for your time this evening. Log on to myjoyonline.com/business for more business news updates. I am Sandra Essenam up, and we have the sports news after this break.
Gary Al Smith here with the sports, starting with the news that the Executive Director of the GMPC Foundation, Dr. Dominic Idria, has cut sword for the construction of an AstroTurf facility in the Laura constituency. The facility is the first of its kind in the Upper West region. Rafiq Salam has the rest of the story.
Executive Director of the Ghana National Petroleum Company, GMPC Foundation, Dr. Dominic Idria, in a brief remark before he cut the sword for the construction of the ultra-modern multi-purpose AstroTurf pitch at Laura Tuvori, noted that youth infrastructure goes in tandem with youth empowerment, explaining the reason why it is an essential part of the economic empowerment unit of the GMPC.
I call on this community to give the contractor the needed support. There's a condition attached to this contract, which is for him to work with the youth in this community, ensure that craftsmen that are going to be used for this project come from this community. It's something that we don't lose track of. It's part of our local content development. Youth infrastructure, of course, goes in line with youth empowerment.
Paramount Chief of the Laura Traditional Area, Napole Cabo III, sees the construction of the multi-purpose AstroTurf pitch as a dream come true after 40 years of being abandoned.
For several years, they came here, and with tears, people had cropped here, and they demolished the crops and said we come to have a stadium, which never was until today. So for us, it is a dream realized, and I hope that we will make beneficial use of it instead of always doing things around Abefa Memorial Park.
A medical committee member of the Confederation of African Football, Dr. Prince Pambo, says national team coaches are advised to invite a limited number of players to come for international assignment. Speaking on Sports Today earlier on, the renowned sports physician said it is one of the measures instituted by CAF and FIFA to fight the COVID-19 pandemic.
The president of the country, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, announced that restrictions have been eased for the junior female national teams, the Black Maidens and the Black Princesses, to assemble and start preparations for FIFA World Cup qualifiers. The World Football Governing Body had written to the government of the country to create a window for the national teams to start preparations for the upcoming qualifiers expected to start in September 2020. The announcement, however, indicated that management members of the various national teams must ensure that all protocols in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic must be observed. CAF Medical Committee member Dr. Prince Pambo, in an interview with Joy Sports, revealed that national team coaches have been advised to reduce the number of players invited to start camping.
In times past, we have coaches inviting so many players, sometimes 45, 50 players to camp and then go through training before selecting. Now, coaches will be advised to bring down the number as low as possible so you don't over-invite people. So yes, they will be looking at quite a tight number to invite to camp. Before every player comes to camp, they would have to go through a mandatory PCMA, which is a pre-competition medical assessment plus COVID-19 testing, and you would have to test negative before you can enter camp.
In order to ensure that the fight against COVID-19 pandemic is a success, Dr. Prince Pambo also revealed that there will be a COVID-19 task force attached to the various national teams.
Muftar Nabila with that report. Ending the sports with me, Gary Al Smith. Thank you for your time. Showbiz is next.
And Becky is here with the very latest from the world of showbiz. Becky, what's up?
Hi, good evening, Aisha. How you doing?
I'm very good. What has Riella been saying?
Yeah, she's been responding to comments. You know, she had a little rant on social media over the weekend talking about how some entertainment critics have been mentioning her name and saying all sorts of things
about her.
She says that all those comments made by all the entertainment pundits, it affects her brand, and so that's the reason why she had to just go on the rant.
Wild, because comments like she doesn't really count, or she and her management have said, okay, here we are leaving the industry for you, has contributed to me not getting a lot of shows right here in Ghana. There have been so many occasions where people came in, especially people who came in from different countries and were looking for an act like myself to grace their occasions. And whenever they approach people, especially people who talk like Arnold Asamoah-Gbedu and the rest of the others that actually talk like him, will tell them, oh, Wiala dear, she doesn't do, and by the name, my name is not Wiala, it's Wiala. They say Wiala dear, but Wiala doesn't do her things in Ghana. For that matter, this other artist does something closer to what she's doing, so book her or him rather. I've lost gigs because of this statement. Oh, Wiala is doing well, but she's not rated in Ghana, or she's underrated. Such comments have gone a long way to make people feel like I don't even care about the industry. So for that matter, when certain shows are being organized, they should even count me in because I don't care. And I know people who, after they have approached me, and those people too were as a result. Fortunately, even when they say that, those who come in from different countries will still insist, no, just give us her contact. And they'll be like, yeah, we have her contact, but we are sure she's not in the country because she doesn't do her things here. She's not involved. I have lost gigs because of these kind of comments.
That was Wiala for you. Earlier on the AM show.
Yeah.
But Adam was also over the weekend on Joy Prime Presents. They were celebrating him and speaking about his new EP, Mood Swings.
Yeah.
He spoke about how a women must be empowered and the fact that women must learn to raise children,
because it's their defining
moments for them.
What you say, girl? So what people see as young boys walking around are products of powerful women who have impacted and impacted their life. And so this is a caution to every woman that your words and your decisions could make and unmake your child from when they are born. That's true. It's not like later when they're alive, because people see me and say you are kind. But my mom is the greatest kind person you can find on the planet. People see me and say you are calm and you are not aggressive. I used to be aggressive. I used to be the guy who stopped people in school. But my mom was able to lift me and put me on another path. So that is how much power women have in our lives and raising amazing people. So every mother, every woman should be careful how they raise their kids, because that is a defining moment.
And I agree that women should do much to raise their kids well, because it affects them wherever they go.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for bringing us Showbiz. And that'll be it for Showbiz. And that'll be it also for the bulletin. My name is Aisha Prime. Many thanks for watching.